Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to solve some chess puzzles on chess.com. The last time I did it, there were no glitches or computer malfunctions, so let's just switch over there and do that right now. I'm going to click puzzles. Last time I made it to 2209, but if you'll remember, I failed the last puzzle and still got 5 points for it. Hopefully that'll happen this time too if I fail a puzzle. But let's see. I'm playing with the black pieces. The opponent has just dropped a bishop down here, attacking my bishop. If I take their bishop, their queen comes in, so I want to guess that that's not it. However, the first thing we look for in puzzles, I'm trying to remind myself every time, is checks. I do have a check right here, but it does look like they can block with the queen, or the knight for that matter. If they block with the knight, well then I'm not sure what I get out of that. If they could block with this bishop too, but I would just take that, right? Is that my only check? I think that is my only check. Queen to e6. So yes, they could block with their queen or their knight, and either one would be safe. But then what? If they block with their queen, I could take their bishop because it would be unprotected because their queen would be pinned. And yes, they could take my queen and mess up my pawn structure, but I would be a piece ahead, assuming we're even now, which it looks like we are. If I let them take me, I lose the right to castle, which is probably not good. Now, I could take them, let them take back, and then check, but then they could still block with the knight, and I'm not sure what I've gained at that point. Okay, what about captures? That's the only capture that I see, and that's the only check that I see. Okay, well, I'm stumped. And hopefully I'll cut out any of those pauses in editing. I'm not seeing it. Okay, well, this is the best I've come up with to check. If we already said if they block with the queen, then I would take their bishop, and I would be a piece ahead. But if they block with the knight, I would then take their bishop. When they took back, then I would play pawn to f6, attacking their knight, which I think I would then win. But I don't know what they could do after that. So I'm going to play queen to e6 check, and we'll find out. That might be wrong. That was wrong. Okay. Well, I don't know what to do. The only other thing I saw was to take the bishop, and that was it. Okay, and then check now? No. Something else. Well, I have no idea. Is it down there? Is it B2? Okay, well then they come after my rook. Oh, well then I could check them. Oh, is that mate? No, because they'd block with the bishop. Well, do I save my rook then? Okay. Well, I apparently lost a bunch of points for that because it looks like the little thing dropped down here to, oh, I lost 14 points. Okay. Well, I don't understand the puzzle at all. So I'm going to go to the next one. Pawn is attacking my queen. Do I have any checks? I do have a check. There's that check. And then the king would have three choices to h8, g8, or f7. If it went to... Wow. I probably shouldn't have clicked record today because I can't talk. Okay, let's try this again. If the king goes to h8, then I would move the knight out of the way, and then that would be mate. Okay. If the king goes to g8, I would then take this pawn, and the king would have to go into the corner, and then I would move this knight, and that would be mate. If I check on h6 and the king goes to f7, then I would move the knight back here to g5, which would cover both of those squares. The queen would have to go there, and then that would be mate, I think. I think it has to be here. Oh, I forgot about that one. That's not mate because the rook moves up to block, but that's also not my only check. I mean, I have a check here, but then the king could take it, because the king can't move over here because of my other rook. But I don't think that's it because the king takes, and even though I do have a follow-up check, would have multiple follow-up checks, I think the king can get out of that. Wait, let's see. If the king takes, is that mate? No, because the knight can block. Their knight can block. So I think it's got to be taking this pawn then? It was. Okay, well, they could have blocked, but then I would have checked here, then they would have had to have blocked with the knight, and then that would have been mate. Okay. Well, I got 5 of those 14 points back. All right. Well, that one seemed incredibly simple compared to the first one, but the first one threw me off my game because it didn't make sense to me even after I was shown the solution. I probably should have added up material and saw that I won material or something. Maybe I was going to pick that rook off at the end in the first puzzle. All right, in this puzzle, I'm way behind. My king is trapped. Their queen is protected by their knight. I mean, their knight's unguarded, but if I take their knight, then that's mate, right? If I take their queen, well, let's see, I'm not in check, so I don't have to take their queen, right? That's a check, but then I assume they would take it, and I would take back, and then they would capture that pawn, and then I would capture this pawn. Then they could get in front of that one, like so, and I would lose. Okay, so what if I take the queen? If I take the queen, then they capture here and I'm in check. Then I take this pawn, and then I assume they would go back trying to get my pawns, but then I would move this one, and then I don't know what they would do. Would I win then because they can't catch both pawns? And if I leave my queen here, that's not mate, but it's really close because after I get out of check by taking this pawn, I think they would check me back there, and that would be bad. So I'm going to try taking the queen. They'll check me. I'll take this pawn. And then again, I assume they would go back trying to catch these pawns. But I don't know. Oh, that was it. Well, it doesn't make sense to not take the pawn because if I move over here, that pawn promotes and it's protected. So I'm going to take the pawn. And then they're going to try to catch mine. Does it make sense to move this one out of the way? Or does it make sense to go ahead and run with that one? Because if I run with my H pawn, they'll take this one, right? But then I'll run again. Oh, then they can't catch that one. So I should just run with this one, right? Let's see. H3, knight captures G5, which is aiming at H3, but then H2, and then their knight can't catch that, right? They can get behind it or come over here, but then I promote. So yeah, I'm just going to run with the H pawn. Oh. Okay, well, I got 2 in a row, and I'm still 4 points below where I started, so let's keep going. And, all right, in this one, I am playing with the black pieces. Their king has just made a dual-purpose move. This not only got out of the way of their pawn, which wants to advance, but it attacked my knight. So what can I do? Can I protect my knight by moving my king forward? I don't think that helps because then they push their pawn, right? And their bishop is guarding the promotion square. Wow. Okay, well, it looks like I've lost this game. If I take the pawn, which that's my instinct because, again, otherwise I can't stop that pawn. It's going to promote. I'm going to be in trouble. If I take the pawn, I assume they'll take back. And then what do? Go after their rear pawn? Well, let's follow that out. They take. I can't take any of these pieces because they're all protecting each other, right? So I have to go to C4, aiming for their A pawn. If I do that, I think they push their D pawn. And if I take it, then their C pawn is gone. So let's see. That's got to be the first moves, right? And then I go through here. You know what? If they do advance their C pawn, instead of taking with my pawn, I could just take with my king. Yeah, because I don't want my C pawn out of the way of their other one. If I do anything else, like let's say I take that pawn, not only could they take back and then I would get their bishop, but then they would promote, but they could just not take back and just go ahead and push their H pawn, right? And they could just leave that there. If I do something like check, let's see, if I check, they have to move out of check, right? But I assume they would move out of check toward me, and then where would I go? The only safe square would be back where it is, and then their pawn promotes. So yeah, I got to take the pawn. Okay. And then it doesn't make sense to do anything but go here, because, I mean, if I come forward, then what do? Wait. If I go here, they might not push their D pawn. They might bring their king. But if they bring their king, and then I go for their A pawn, then they could push this one, and my king wouldn't be there to capture it. So I would have to capture with the C pawn or let it go. If I let it go and took this one, then that one moves forward. I assume it doesn't have to take mine. But let's either way, it moves forward. I then have to get out of the way of my A pawn, and theirs moves forward again, and I don't promote in time, right? Because they can wait. They can play a waiting move with their king, and I still can't take that pawn because the bishop's defending it. And yeah, then when I go there, they push this pawn, and my king is too far away to take it. And if I take it with my pawn, then that pawn shoots forward, and I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves from promotion, and they're only 2. So maybe going that way is not the best idea. What if I come this way to keep their king from getting to my, from playing that? Well, the king can still play the waiting move though, but then I can go back. But then they could go here, and then what do? Okay, well, I got the first move right, but now I'm doubting my second move. Wait, maybe it's not that. Wow. Maybe it's this. My king needs to be where it is right now, doesn't it? Yeah, I think I have to play b4. If they capture, then this one's only 2 squares from promotion. And if they don't capture, then I can just run with the b pawn. Okay, they did capture. So now I'm only 2 squares from, or 3 squares from promotion, right? 1, 2, 3. Whereas they have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, well, I have netted 1 point after 4 puzzles. Okay, and we're 17 minutes in by my clock, hopefully less by yours. The theme was passed pawns. Hey, this time that was correct. If you've watched any of my puzzle solving videos before, you know that a lot of times the theme is passed pawns when that's not the theme. But this time, it was right. Okay, let's go to the next puzzle. I'm playing with the white pieces. First thing we look for is checks. I do not have a check with my queen. I do have a check with my rook, but that looks really bad. They can take it either way. I don't think that sacrifice would net me anything. Whichever way they took, I don't think I would get an advantage out of that. I can also check with the knight. Now that's interesting because it looks like a sacrifice. The pawn will just take because it's a fork of the king and the queen. So I think they would have to take. If they just move out of check, then I'll take their queen, and then I will have a numerical advantage at that point, a material advantage. If they take back, then I put my queen over here on h5, and that's check because the pawn's not in the way anymore. And then they just move out of check, one of these 2 squares, and then what? Okay, yeah, it looks promising at first, but then they just move up behind that pawn, don't they? Okay, well maybe it's not that then. Maybe it's not a check. Maybe it's a capture. I don't have any captures other than these 2 pawns, and I think both of those captures are foolhardy. My rook can't capture anything, my knight can't capture anything, my pawns can't capture anything. So a threat is the next thing we look for. One thing I can threaten is the queen. Or wait, what if I put the queen there first? Sorry, I'm going back to the check thing. I'm going back to the knight check. But what if the queen was there first? Then the pawn could not capture back when I moved the knight here. But they would have a move first, and what would that move be? I suppose they could put the queen up here to threaten my queen, but that wouldn't help because this would still be a fork. Okay, maybe that's it. It looks like my camera view is tilted. Sorry, I'm finding ways to distract myself. That's not good. I need to focus. But it does look like my camera view is tilted. Is that right? Let me see if I can fix it. Hold on. Well, that still looks tilted. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I think that's probably the answer is queen to h5, because how do they avoid that threat? The only way they can threaten my queen is what we already said, by putting their queen here, but then I still play the knight fork, which is a check. They can't take back because my queen is pinning the pawn, and then they would lose their queen. If they do see it coming, though, they will want to move their queen or king someplace. I don't know where they would move it to. I mean, if they moved their king over, then not only would the pawn no longer be pinned, but that wouldn't be a check. So if I played queen here and they moved their king over, then what? Okay, yeah, that might not be it either. Maybe it is the knight first. Okay, I have no idea. I'm going to put the queen on h5. Oh, that was right. Okay. Okay, they just moved the queen out of danger. They didn't move the king out of danger, but they moved the queen out of danger. Interesting. Well, I guessed right. Let's see. That's still a check. The pawn is still pinned, but the king moves out one way or the other. I don't know which way, one of those 2 ways. And then the knight's in danger from the pawn. I still have this rook here. The rook is cutting off all of that file, the F file. So I have to think that the rook is important. Also, if I could get their queen out of position somehow, I mean, I could hit the rook and that would be a check. But right now the queen is in position. And once I put the knight here, then the knight would be in the way of the whole thing. Let's see. Let's say the king moves over there to get out of check, because it would have to get out of check. And then I could sacrifice the queen there, but then it would just take, and then my knight would be hanging. So no, I have no idea. But the check seems like a good idea. It does. But the problem is I don't know what to do after they get out of check. Wait, if they get out of check here, no. I was going to say check again there, but then either the queen or the rook would just take it. I do have a check here, but that's not good. I have a check here, but I don't think that's good either, because the king takes it, and then I don't have a good follow-up check. Okay, so I think it's definitely not a queen check at this point. I don't think it's a rook check, is it? Let's see. Because in that case, I think the rook would take, but it wouldn't have to. The king could get out of check here, but let's say that the rook took. If the rook took, then I would have this check, and then the king would have to move out of check, and then I could take the rook, but then whichever way they had moved out of check, they could take my knight as well. So not good. I'm going to go back to the original knight check, and hopefully that's right. It's not. Okay. I have no idea. It was not checking. It was putting the rook right here. All right. That's the end of the puzzle. Even though the king can just move out of check and be threatening my rook. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop there. That's really disappointing. I hope you're enjoying whatever week it is for you. Sometimes I don't upload the videos within a day or so of me recording them, but probably by the time you see this video, I'll be on spring break. So if I don't respond to your comments immediately, I apologize, but I will make an effort to respond to any comments or suggestions as soon as I can. In these two puzzles that I missed, those of you who are near my rating in puzzles or higher, or no matter what you're rated, if you think you understand the two puzzles that I missed, please feel free to leave a comment explaining. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.